Chapter 194. The new patriarch of the Chu family, arriving to seize the bride. Startling change. Are you saying that the current patriarch of the Chu family is no longer Chu Changkong? Upon hearing Chu Mingkong's words, Han Yi was somewhat surprised. The young Chu Mingkong nodded his head. Perfected one. Are you truly unaware that 3.5 years ago, a mysterious man visited our Chu family? He confronted us about the whereabouts of a holy object from the demonic cult, defeated thousands of sword cultivators with a single pawn. And after the great battle at the top of Sword Palace, Patriarch Changkong was seriously injured and has been in seclusion ever since. Upon hearing the keywords 3.5 years ago and holy object of the demonic cult, Han Yi's pupils contracted. Wasn't that around the time when the Golden Cicada secret realm was about to open? Shortly after he and Chu Xianyu returned from slaying a giant serpent in Beihai province and returned to the sect. Could it be that this mysterious man is a member of the demonic cult? Could it be because Chu Xianyu displayed her swordsmanship at that time, which was recognized, leading the demonic cult to think that the heavenly demon Nether Dragon Scroll was in the Chu family, thus causing this disaster? First, the demonic cult was unsuccessful in finding the chart. Then junior sister Ning infiltrated the Dragon Sparrow sect in search of traces of the demon chart. Then she finally made her move in the Golden Cicada secret realm. This will finally make the timeline make sense. If that's the case, then isn't he the one that caused today's outcome? If the patriarch of the Chu family had not been injured, they wouldn't have used their daughter to trade for the development of the family. And the new Chu family patriarch would not have declared that the capable shall marry her. Having understood everything, Han Yi's heart was even more pained. He suddenly recalled the explanation for reversing misfortune and fortune. Misfortune and fortune never just appear or disappear, they are transferred to other places, onto other people. It seems that at that time, he had managed to escape catastrophe, but the disaster was borne by Chu Xianyu instead. No wonder 3 years ago, that one-armed old man wanted Chu Xianyu to return home. Chu Changkong had an accident and needed a new successor. It seems that Chu Xianyu must not have won the position of patriarch and even became the sacrifice for the family's political marriage. Han Yi looked at Chu Mingkong and asked in a heavy voice, "Hasn't your sister ever resisted?" Chu Mingkong shouted in dissatisfaction, "Ever since my sister came back 3 years ago. She has handed over Kangbi to the family and was placed in house arrest most of the time. What could she resist with? This time when I was heading to the dragon capital of Great Zhou, I was fulfilling my sister's mission to find someone. At first, I planned to go to the Dragon Sparrow sect, but then I heard his name was being praised in the dragon capital city. When I actually got to dragon capital, I heard that he had already left and I could only reluctantly return. Isn't this frustrating?" Chu Mingkong, thinking of his encounters on the way, complained angrily. Han Yi froze after hearing this, closed his eyes with heavy emotions, and said, "The person your sister asked you to find, who was it?" "It seems to be a guy named Han Yi. By the way, who are you? You're not here for my sister's paired sword like those people, are you?" At this point, Han Yi opened his eyes and said, "I am Han Yi." When Chu Mingkong heard this, he couldn't believe it and asked back, "You are Han Yi? Really?" "Absolutely. Dragon Sparrow sect disciple, Han Yi." Han Yi took out his identity jade plate from his ring and gave it to him. After Chu Mingkong scrutinized the jade plate, he still found it hard to believe. "So you're the Han Yi who defeated the Devil's Son with a sword in Dragon Capital City? The one who is being talked about all over the place recently?" "Yes, that's me. But how did this title of sword leader come about?" Han Yi frowned. "The whole world is talking about it. When the demonic sect entered Dragon Capital, an imposing sword Chow appeared with a proud and conceited man dressed in white. They say he is a 9-turn golden core cultivator, a level that has not been seen for 1,000 years. So, this title is quite awe-inspiring." Han Yi shook his head and continued to ask, "Isn't your sister the swordswoman of Kangbi? How could she be stripped of her sword qualification? The swordswoman of the Lean Flame. By Kaiufu, everyone is very polite around her. Although my sister can wield Kangbi, she hadn't received the recognition of the Fuyao Sword Palace, so it's considered private misappropriation." Han Yi had heard of this rule from Bai Kaiufu, the swordswoman of Cold Waterfall. He didn't expect it to be true. Chu Mingkong saw Han Yi turning around to leave. The white tiger on the ground also stood out. He couldn't help but ask, "Where are ya going? To save your sister?" Chu Mingkong's eyes lit up, quickly caught up and asked, "But can you defeat them? The four main seed sword holders, and Chu Liuqing, Chu Liubai." Han Yi stopped in his tracks, glanced at him. "You're advising me now. Weren't you afraid of death just now?" Chu Mingkong's gaze settled. "I said it before. If I see something I dislike, I will fight to the end. Life or death is not important, but you are someone who my sister cares about. If you die, how can I explain it to her?" "Who did you learn this character from?" Chu Mingkong proudly said. "My father taught me. As a sword cultivator, nothing is sadder than the death of the heart. The sword in your heart is more important than anything else. When you win, the victory is in your sword. When you lose, the victory is in your heart." After a moment of silence, Han Yi gently nodded his head, just like the current sword sovereign. "White Tiger Perfected One, what is the relationship between you and my sister? Friends? What kind offerings? Occult should ask less." At the Chu family mansion, everywhere is festooned with lanterns and streamers. Rows of red lanterns hang under the eaves. Paper cutouts of rabbits, symbols of celebration and good fortune, are everywhere on the doors. Inside the house, Chu Xianyu was dressed in overlapping red skirts, adorned with magnificent jewelry, as beautiful and as cold as a spring flower. Words cannot describe her beauty.